Howdy-o, what do you know it, is Rabbit of ScrubLeet Academy, and we are back today, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. So I posted a video the other day, which was thanking everybody for the 10 subscriber benchmark that we reached. And it seems, once again, like a small achievement, but to me it actually meant a lot, and I'm really pleased about that. And in that video, I mentioned I wanted to do something a little more special, go out of my comfort zone a little bit. Well, I'm not going to go out of my comfort zone, let's be real. So here's what we're actually going to do. Here's the real fun of this. I'm actually going to play this game today, Dungeon Siege 2 to be more specific. So DS2 is a game that came out in 2005, and it's actually the game that got me into the fantasy MMORPG, or just fantasy RPG in general, genre. And one of the big things about this game is I only really noticed this because my father ended up bringing it home, and he was super into this kind of stuff. And what I would do is I would just subtly sneak in there and start playing my own character after a little bit, until eventually I just kind of adopted the game on my own. And I have to admit, to some extent, I was fascinated with this game. With the basic story that it told, the basic gameplay that it had. For some reason it just captured me. It captured me and it kept me every step of the way. And I think that's one of the biggest things about a game, and in particular, one of the things about games that I don't see too often anymore. It's very rare that I'll actually be captured by a game anymore, especially an MMO, and especially games by like Square Enix or Bethesda or Blizzard or one of these other companies that is clearly showing they have no consideration of their own customer. Dungeon Siege 2 was actually developed by a studio called Gas Powered Games, which I think went defunct in 2018. They had to shut down and everything. It's really kind of unfortunate. But in 2005, they were a pretty big name, and they developed pretty big games. This particular game series, in fact. 2002 is the game that this is originally based on. Dungeon Siege Original was actually published by Microsoft, weirdly enough. And DS2 was also published by Microsoft, but Square Enix got in there as well a little bit. I think this is before they were extremely corrupt like they currently are, but, you know, here and there, here and there. And I'm definitely not going to get any sponsorships or anything like that. None of that fun stuff. But I'm not really looking for any of that. I'm just kind of making these videos because I enjoy it. And this one is meant to celebrate this 10 subscriber, I don't know, month-iversary? I don't really have that word. I don't really know what the word is for that. Anyway, 2005 game, very fascinating, a basic RPG story. You're a soldier in an army. You go out there, you get betrayed, and then you have to kill the guy who betrayed you and figure out how to save the world at the same time. Basic story, basic RPG-type monsters. You know, it kind of just fits the standard paradigm, so it feels like it should be tired at this point. It feels like the idea should already have been done a dozen times over. And yet, somehow, it's still just a flawless entry in my opinion. And there's a lot of contention between whether or not DS Original and DS2 is the better game. Which one of the two is the better game? I kind of veer towards DS2. I didn't get the same emotional attachment that I did to the original Dungeon Siege. DS2, to me, is the game that really strikes home, and it could be nostalgia goggles informing that decision, but it is the game for me. Wow, what a long intro. What a long intro. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually go through the game, and I'm just going to play it as I usually would, and just kind of reimagine and re-immerse myself in this universe. And hopefully I can bring you guys through this game as a kind of sort of traversing of my own memory lane. Because I know this game in particular, I probably got some audience members, even in my smaller audience right now, that have never actually, they were born after this game was even made. They might not have even played this one, they might not have even seen it. This is the kind of game I had growing up. This is the kind of game that I would play. And no microtransactions, no in-game store, no subscription models, none of this BS that you've got for tons and tons and tons of other RPGs right now. It was just a fascinating game. You bought it, you played it, and you could play it again. And there was no extra incentive to keep paying into the system. It was just the old school of developed games. And I'm starting to feel like a bit of an old fogey here. I'm not extremely old, if that helps. But I got to see in my lifetime games change somewhere along the line. And I don't feel the same attachment because now I have to open my wallet to really just keep enjoying the game. It takes me out of the immersion of the universe. Whereas with this one, it's you can buy the game and you can play the game, and it's a game. It's just something that you can do now. So that, to me, stands out a little bit more. And honestly, for its time, the graphics are actually really decent. But enough of all that. I could keep going forever and ever and ever. I'm just going to go in, we're going to start up a single-player game, we're going to see what we can accomplish, and I'm just going to make this a series. And I'm going to continue through this, just play the game all the way through the first difficulty setting, Mercenary Mode. And I'm going to keep this as uncut as possible once we actually get into the game. It's not going to be a streamed piece, this is just a recording that I'm doing for you. But it's going to be sort of as streamlined as I can make it, while still making it fun for you guys to watch. Alright, so let's get into it. Single player, boom! So what we got here, we've got races, humans, dryads, elves, and half-giants. I always chose the humans because I always like just having the free skill points. See, the way that this game sort of works is each of these races has different strengths and weaknesses. Humans, to me, have the most generalist because, of course, humans have the most generalist strength and weakness. They've always got that in every game. So +2 strength, which is melee damage, +1 dexterity, which is range damage, +1 intelligence, which is magic damage, and a chance to find magic items. And that's always a key part here, is the chance to find magic items. That always attracts me to these guys. Because magic items in this game are actually... They're quite difficult to come across, especially in the lower levels. Later on, not quite so much, but the unspent skill points are also a really nice addition. Dryads get a point in natural bond, a point in dodge. These, we probably won't be able to figure out what these are quite yet, but you can generally figure out that dodge is going to help with survivability, and natural bond, well, we'll get into that when we get to it. It really helps with nature magic, and I believe that's the spell point cost reduction of nature magic. But I could be mistaken, it's been a while. Alright, so they actually get a deficit to strength, so we don't want them as our melee team, but we do really like them as rangers. +4 to dexterity is pretty chunky, and a +2 intelligence means they'd be a decent caster as well. Death magic resistance, well, that's one of the 3 different... Is it 3 or 4 different elements? I think there's 4 different elements in this one. There's death, there's lightning, there's cold, and there's fire, aren't there? I'll definitely have to figure that out, but it's one of those few elemental resistances that you can get, and it stacks with everything, so it's fairly decent. It's just not as good as the human one, in my opinion. Elves get critical strike, which increases their critical strike chance, and brilliance, which actually increases, if I recall correctly, their spell point pool. And as you can tell with the 3 intelligence, they're going to be probably the best casters of the group, and they have better mana recovery, so they're going to be casting a little more frequently than everybody else. And finally, well, half-giants, we kind of expected they'd have, like, an enormous amount of strength, and decent fortitude, which is HP, with a deficit to dexterity and some bonus to health regen. So basically, these guys are our frontline attackers. They are extremely chunky early game. It starts to fall off a little bit later game, but at least they've got those 2-point investments in fortitude to really get their physical... You can start off with their physical damage and their physical survivability a lot easier. But I think I'm just going to go through with human. I'm going to go through with human. We're going to be a male. We're going to have... You notice that you have a couple of options, but not that many. It really doesn't matter. Sure, that works. Well, other than having a little ponytail, I think we'll take the one that doesn't have a ponytail. Oh, actually, no, that looks like a goth kid. This one kind of looks like the... It kind of looks like the knight's kid. Like that sort of gentry level, oh, look at me, I'm gonna go and save the world. I don't think we need to do that either. We don't really have that many great options. Let's try this one. We'll have that little half ponytail. Maybe people will think we're a girl and they won't actually come after us. And we're gonna be grizzled. Alright, so there we go. We're already taking away that girl facade. Yeah, we're gonna look like a grizzled old man. That works. Alright, so what do we call it? What do we call it? I got an idea. Since we're way past the 3-minute mark, and I could pretend like I can monetize this video sometime in the future, I'm gonna call it the Rabbitch. There we go, we're gonna call it the Rabbitch. Because if I succeed, then, well, people are going to presume that I'm actually pretty pathetic. But if I don't, then I'm not falsely advertising this character. I don't remember how to play this game at all, really. So let's just see what happens. Alright, we've got mercenary mode. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shut up and just let this video play out so you guys can enjoy this the same way that I did when I was growing up with this game.
A 1,000 years ago, when Arana was young but not innocent, the first age of man came to an end by the meeting of a sword and a shield. The sword of Zaramoth the Unmaker, powered by a subterranean river of magic, had ruled the age by unquestioned force, until the shield of Azunai the Defender became the sword's only rival in power. They were destined to meet on the field that would forever be known as the Plain of Tears. Zaramoth commanded control of the power. Azunai longed to disperse it. Both zealots could not win. But unbeknownst to either warrior, the sword and shield had destinies of their own. The sword shattered the shield and sparked the great cataclysm. The land split open, and the souls of the warriors, ripped from their chests, rushed into the river of souls that flowed beneath the land, splintering it into 1,000 ley lines. The shockwave was felt in every part of Arana. Even the lives that were spared were changed forever. The stars shifted, and the Second Age began. All this was forgotten for centuries. The magic that was scattered on the Plain of Tears was fractured under the world, waiting with its unpredictable power. Until a young prince named Valdis followed powerful visions to the mountain fortress called Zaramoth's Horns. The dark wizards mastered the magic and granted Valdis access to the lost sword of Zaramoth, the very instrument that ended the First Age. In that instant, the Second Age fell under the sword's ominous shadow.
More worthless mercs! You're late! You're nearly at the front immediately! Check in with Martin Lieutenant Gerund at the tower. Now get moving!
I've had a bad feeling about this ever since we left Amonlu. There's something... I don't trust these mortals.
Alright, so first things first, I really enjoy that cinematic. Now I'm forgetting how to move in this game, which is not good, because this is not the standard ASDW or whatever that you're used to. Basically, you would click to move, and that's what I'm doing, is the little sword there. The Morden, I remember them being basically... Alright, so we know in every single fantasy, right? Every single fantasy that exists, there's like that shitty group. The asshole. The one that everybody just kind of hates, and they're all dickheads around the world, and everybody is supposed to hate them, and they have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. That's the Morden. That's these guys. And we can see them a little closer. Yeah, they kind of look really disgusting, too. So basically, they're your orcs of this universe. The orcs are always the asshole race of every fantasy. Every sort of fantasy-created game. And these are the orcs. So we can go ahead and break those. Get ourselves that stuff. What I might do really quickly, is just go ahead and set up the keybinds, which I'm not entirely sure how to do. Hotkeys! There we go. Alright, so we've got our activate powers, we got our drink health potions, drink mana, formation. Okay, so this is all pretty straightforward, so we gotta actually go down here. I don't think I really need to do all that much, honestly. Yeah, now that I'm seeing it, I really don't need to do all that much. I think the only thing is I'd really just like to, figure out how these kind of things work. Specialty is P, and collect loot is Z. So what I might do is I'll just change that into number 5. Yeah, we don't need that. Inventory, we're going to change that to this one. Inventory open all. Oh. Well, let's do that one. And there we go. Okay, so that's basically all I was looking for, is just a few ways of getting all that stuff done. And then we can go ahead and just change up the activate powers to be something a lot easier for me, which is dupe, sure, whatever. Dupe, sure, whatever. That one, A, and G. Alright, much better. And then we just need drink health and mana potions. They're already right. Okay, so I think what we can do is we could just go ahead and boop, boop. Formation, who cares? Yeah. Alright, so this is fine, There we go. And it was, okay, where's, my auto loot? Did I not have it? Oh, well, whatever. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk to this guy.
Oh, you look pretty! Ha! Try not to bleed all over that armor, worm!
Oh yes, this was also something I loved about this game, is that basically everybody is voice acted. Which even in some modern games, you don't get that anymore.
Mark, report to Martin Fighter Talk ahead for your combat lesson! Get moving now!
On our way, open the gate, please, sir. No, you don't get that too much anymore. Is this just a fully voice-acted game? I think you get that with, what was it? D&D Path... Oh, it's not Path... Oh my goodness, what was that one? Whatever. Point being, there are a couple of them that I've played, and you get that. Neverwinter Nights, that's it. You get the semi-fully voice-acted games, but you don't generally have these, like, over-the-top, every single dialogue box has some of that, and this one does, and I think that's really awesome. Only thing I need is, what did I set my auto-loot key to? Come on, you. It should be... I set it to V. Why would I do that? Ah, whatever. Alright, so you can auto-gather in this one. I don't know if you can do that in Dungeon Siege 1. That's the thing. Cool. So, we're going to go ahead and equip that. And just get rid of these. And re-equip our dagger. Alright. So we're moving along pretty easily here. This one's mine now. Oh, we actually have one too. Oh yeah, it does have those dialogue boxes there. So basically what we can do is just swap to this. Get rid of all that. And we really want to decide our specialties. See, I think mine is going to be Archer, because I love archers. So I think we've already kind of decided on that one. Now, there are 4 different main kinds of combat styles. There's your melee, your ranged, your nature magic, and your combat magic. Combat is like lightning and fire, and death magic. And nature is your ice spells and your healing and your sustain. A lot of different buffs and stuff in that one, too.
Took you long enough, Worm. The other mercs are at the front lines already. The Temple of the Ghost must be taken by nightfall. Now get moving!
Wait, I have a bad feeling about this. My medallion feels heavy, as if it's trying to tell me not to move.
Oh, not that superstitious nonsense.
Paid to stand around? Get moving! Now! Those filthy dryads are summoning another shell! You mercs, get in there and destroy that thing!
Those must be the Bracken we learned about as children. Let's take them out!
Alright, so the basic plot to this whole thing is that we're trying to take out this sort of dryad area to secure a secret weapon for Valdis, which is actually one of the 4 parts of the shield. Let's just get rid of this thing. One of the 4 parts of the shield of Azinai. And that's the whole point to why we're here, and Valdis doesn't really give a shit about our lives. You know, the generic sort of bad guy thing. I think that's probably... It's one of the worst storylines that I think the evil character in this one has, that he's just evil because he's evil. But, I mean, you know, it's fine because he's kind of a very imposing figure at the very least. Yeah, I'm not going to do that because Rampage mode is terrible. It's probably the worst of the combat styles, and I'm just going to keep it on Party, where we all stick around and the tank actually does his tanking stuff. But, basically, as I was mentioning, Valdis is an evil asshole, and that's about the whole plot, honestly. So we gotta go in...
Remind me of our scuffles with the tack lab. If we focus our fire, they'll go down faster. Let's switch to mirror mode.
And stay in mirror mode for the rest of the game. Yes, that is totally true. Alright, so I think the thing about Ranger that I really like, though, is just that it's usually the best option for an all-around good guy, so to speak. We be the Mario of the game. Alright, let's get rid of this. But these guys are dying pretty quickly. I'm not even really bothering to equip any of this stuff because there's not really too much reason to. I think the only thing that is bad about a Ranger is that they tend to be decent damagers, so they tend to generate threat, and your tank is not usually a decent damager. That's one of the few things that they didn't really work too much on in this game, is the threat generation. Oh, wow. But I will admit the animation for combat especially is really decent. And we've got another one of these. We'll just get rid of this forest golem. He's the... oh, wait, actually, we need to get rid of that. Yeah, let's go ahead and use this. Get rid of the big one. Come on, get rid of him. No, you don't want to do it? Okay, whatever. We're closing in, but I just don't want to waste the hit point, the health potions just yet. Ah, there we go. That's what I was hoping for. Alright, so we wiped him out. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to let him auto-heal us. The healing spells in this game allow you to auto-cast them. Actually, I think that's one of the things that the base game just did not have, which is definitely an improvement in my opinion, is the ability to have characters auto-cast certain spells.
These wooden creatures are weak to fire. Too bad I'm not a combat mage.
Yeah, nobody's going to be a combat mage. They're pussies. Now, honestly, we can pick one of those up in a bit, but I really don't think that I want to be that, because I don't want to die instantly. I've played a combat mage in this game before. They're pretty flimsy, honestly. They're the flimsiest of all the characters that you can be. Oh, yeah, let's pick that up. These Mystic Protectors seemed a lot tougher, honestly, than pretty much everything else. Why don't we go ahead and just, like, destroy him? Just, didn't even need to, really. Alright, so let's get rid of him. Yeah, and they will actually slow down and not fully pick up items if they've got autocast on. So it's good to change what your autocast is where you need it.
Like the weapons my father gave us when we were first learning to fight. You should pick it up.
Oh, let's pick that up too. So I think we just got the resurrect spell, honestly. No, we just got a resurrect scroll. That's fine. Alright, so basically all of these plus signs that we're getting here, that's like level ups in the game. So we've got a bunch of extra points.
I have that traitorous fiend in my sights. I could, but why does my heart stay my hand? Perhaps there is more at play here than I can tell for the moment. There's something about this one.
Did you see that elf? I recognized him. It was Amryn.
Alright, so Amryn is actually...
About in Drudwyn's tavern back home. He's rarely seen, but his deeds, real or imagined, are discussed there with enthusiasm.
Amryn is actually kind of an interesting character, honestly. He's like this sort of... Think of your standard, like, ranger elf, and that's kind of Amryn, but he's also got these weird visions, and he can see things happening, and they tend to... like I don't know what the actual main story is. I think maybe we'll pick him up along the way, because we could use a second ranger. We can have up to 4 people. Maybe we'll just have a couple of rangers and, like, a melee dude and one standard magic user. But I really enjoyed his story, and I really wish I could remember a little bit more about it at this point. He's kind of a fascinating character, though, and he's one of the more likable characters, I think, in this game.
I would be interested in finding that out myself.
Yeah, we don't need to really figure out what Amryn's up to just yet, though. Oh, yes! I forgot about this. The gore. The absolute gore in this game. Like, I know a lot of, especially, like, MMO-style RPGs, the kind that you play online with a bunch of, technically, kids these days, don't allow for that kind of stuff because maybe kids... Yeah, it probably would have been better to save it for this moment, but, you know, I'm not that smart. But you don't get to see all that kind of gore in a lot of these games anymore because, especially... Ooh, let's get out of there. Let's just get rid of that one. Boom, he's gone, and that narrowed things down a lot better. Alright, there we go. You don't get to see a lot of that too much anymore, at least in the games that I've been playing. Just because they have to worry about, like, you know, freak out parents and lawsuits and bullshit. They think, oh, well, maybe, you know, if the Karens of the world complain, then we're going to have to deal with that, which means, well, we're not going to make as much money. Now, one of the things that Dungeon Siege 1 and 2, really, one of the biggest problems with them, just get rid of him. Yeah, that guy can do a lot more damage, but he's way easier to take down. So I figure we'll just destroy the Ketrel if we can. Wow. Alright, let's get rid of him. See ya. Those powers are really good. And I think one of the big things is we'll just go ahead and go in here and check that. So you can see here that it actually, as opposed to Dungeon Siege 1, and I know I keep referencing that game, I haven't fully played it, but I've seen a few things. DS1 just doesn't have the interface that this one does. Let's, come on, get rid of him. There we go. Alright, let's get out of there. We're getting a bit hurt. Getting a bit beat up. Get rid of that guy. Just keep backing away. So this one, it's a little tactical in some regard, but we don't really need to worry too much. There we go. We'll get rid of the weaker one. Or the stronger one, rather, and just destroy the weaker one. But as I was saying, you actually get upgrades to your bow. It tells you exactly what your min-max is. You can just equip them really easily. I kind of like the interface of this one a lot more. And I know a lot of people, as I mentioned...
Quite the warrior. Keep in mind, you should choose a class and stick with it if you want to approach my expertise.
Ooh. A little bit arrogant. This one I like a lot more, and I know that there's a bit of a contention between DS1 and DS2 about which one's better. A lot of... honestly, I kind of consider it hipstery to even think DS1 is better. But, once again, I might have nostalgia goggles on for this one.
Took you long enough, Worm! The temple is through the cave! Get moving, now!
Stop a moment. My medallion. I know how you feel about it, but I just can't shake this feeling that something is going to happen. The closer we get to the temple, the stronger I feel it.
I think this is probably the worst plot point in this game, though, that we've hit upon, is Dreven's medallion. And I don't know. It happens a lot later in the game, so maybe I'll cover this then, but I don't really like the medallion itself. I don't like how it comes across in this game. It's... Alright, basically, it feels like that fantasy RPG kind of thing where you have to have the magic item that is more magical than other magic items. It's all based on the One Ring by the Lord, in the Lord of the Rings story, J.R.R. Tolkien. everything's based on token. Everything fantasy related is basically it pays homage to Lord of the Rings. That is the thing that revolutionized all fantasy. Dreven's medallion is a perfect example of that. That's the One Ring, for reasons that I'll probably get into a lot later in this Let's Play.
I look forward to that. But for now, I want you to take my medallion. Please, it's important to me. More than you know. Just promise that you won't ever let Voldus take it.
And there's the MacGuffin that really ties it in. You can't let the Dark One have my perfect, awesome magical trinket that is more magical than other magical trinkets, even though all kinds of magical trinkets exist in this world. That's the same thing. So I take your medallion because it's the hero's charm. I am basically Frodo, sure. But it's the only part of it that I really don't like all that much. Alright, let's get rid of them. Oh yes, and that right there is a boss, as you can probably tell by the fire. Let's go ahead and just destroy him. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, it didn't do all that much, jeez. Oh, well, that's okay. It's focused on the tank. He'll probably be fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and let him pick that up. And I'm just going to spend some points. Whoa, camera. Alright, let's get in there a little bit. A little less camera issue. We're going to go ahead and pick up our own ability, because we're going to be a ranger now, so let's take aim. Alright, so what do we want here? Biting arrow, we can't get that until level 5, and we're only a level 2. So there are basically two different sort of styles here. We've got level 2 bowyer, so that's our actual character level, and we've also got our class stat bonuses. So we have, every time we gain a level, we have an extra point to spend. But this ranged combat here actually increases our proficiency, which allows us to equip better weapons, and I think it increases our damage. I'm not entirely sure. I think dexterity is actually what increases our damage purely by itself. But as much as... oh, get rid of that. We don't need that. As much as it's mentioned you should probably specialize in one thing, I like to get a little bit of extra nature magic to be able to use, like resurrects and stuff, or a little bit more combat magic to be able to use debuffs and debilitating effects. So there is a little bit to be said for going outside of your comfort zone in your playstyle a little bit. Alright, so what do we got here? Armor, nothing. It's really not all that good. Dreven's hammer. I would like to give him that, but I want it. But you know what, we'll go ahead and give him that. Yeah, I want that because more armor class. And you'll see why in a moment here, why I'm not really considering him, why I don't care so much about his character. There's a good reason for it, but generally, you don't really need to gear him up at all or bother with him. He's not going to be a big deal. Let's just get rid of this guy. Boom. But now I've got an extra ability myself. Alright, so let's go ahead and use it. Yeah, and we were able to clean up a Kestrel pretty much by ourselves there. Or a Ketrel, not a Kestrel. A Ketrel by ourselves there. Let's just get rid of him. Come on, get rid of him. Boom! Explode. And those guys even come to help us, which is really neat. Alright, so let's head on down here. I really love this one. I will admit that it's not as open world as... ooh, nice. As DS1. There are actual loading screens in this one, and DS1 was pretty revolutionary for just not having a loading screen. So that was just kind of awesome. But this one doesn't really... let's get rid of him. Oh, there's another one. Oh, let's get rid of him. This one doesn't have too many loading screens. It's got teleporters and different ways of manipulating it. I think DS1 had the teleporters as well, but technically the whole game was extraordinarily linear. You could just go through the entire game without ever having to worry about a loading screen. This one, there are a couple of them that are pretty mandatory. And here we are. Alright, so, once again, I'll shut up and let this play out.
Get moving, worm! You mercs are late! Get to the temple now!
Congratulations, Voldus. We have completed our task. When can we expect our pay? Look out!
Alright, and that pretty much does it for the intro. I'll let it save me up here. That pretty much does it for the intro. I kind of love the idea that Voldus is just like, I'm not paying you assholes. I did all the work and he just fucking kills us all. But we managed to survive, as you can tell, so pretty decent that way. Honestly, though, I really, really like this game. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about it, because I think this is a good sort of stopping point, so to speak. I want to keep these episodes, if I even continue the series, which I really think I will. I think I'll keep this series going, yeah. I really want to keep these episodes like 30 minutes long or so. You know, not too much time, just enough to really sink your teeth into. But that's the first sort of bit here, the opening part of the first act. And it really gets you started on this game. If you remember this from, you know, your past sometime, this is a kind of a great re-entry. If you don't know it at all, this might give you something. It's on Steam, you can get it at any time, and you don't really have to worry. It's not too expensive, honestly. I think it was, oh geez, when I bought it, it was 75% off, but it was only a couple of bucks, so maybe like 10 bucks or so for this entire game, and there's hours and hours and hours of content. These are the old school games where you would have hundreds of hours of gameplay time. And honestly, DS2, compared to DS1, I think has a lot more replayability. It's a lot more engaging, there's a lot more to do, and there's more continuation beyond the first little bit here. I think DS1 is just a really linear game. I might try it out, but I have more of an affinity for this one. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. But otherwise, I think I'm just gonna get out of here. It's already, oh my goodness, it's 2 in the morning. I gotta wake up early. Oh well, it was fun. Well, it was fun while we played, at least. So I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day.